Here it is. Here's the RC350 I've been talking about, guys, on Instagram. I'm doing a full review on it. It's one of the best cars Lexus makes in terms of looks. But let's get into it without further ado. This car looks freaking fantastic. Everything about it. I did a review on the RC300, which looks identical because that was also an F-Sport. This particular model is the 350, which comes with the fully unlocked 3.5 liter V6 with 311 horsepower. This is the F-Sport trim, and it also comes with all-wheel drive on this particular car. You can see the F-Sport spindle grille, lots of detail here. Increases in complexity the farther down you get. Got a bug there. Big Lexus logo on the front. These lights are sick, guys. These lights are sick. There's nothing else I can say. There's lots of curve. Oh, I haven't even noticed this little flashy chrome indicator there on the side. But it looks really, really good. And that's all I have to say about it. So a little bit of history on this car. I believe it's the direct replacement for the SC 300 and 400. Those cars came out in the 90s and they still look like one of the best designs that Lexus has ever made. They just look really good. And they kind of went for the same idea with the RC. They tried to make it as beautiful as possible. Two-door coupe, just like they did in the 90s with the SC 300 and 400. The SC 430, guys, was a huge departure from the original philosophy and mindset of the SC, but this thing I feel like is a great follow-up to those amazing SCs from the 90s. This car takes a lot from existing Lexus vehicles. The front end is actually a similar front end that they use in the GS. The middle part of the car they take from the IS convertible, and the rear part of the car they take from the regular IS. So pretty interesting that they kind of threw three different cars together and it came out as this, and it looks nothing really like any of them. The wheels look really good. I'm not a big fan of the Shredder Ninja Turtle claws back here, or the Wolverine claws, whatever you want to call them. They look really good when the car's black, but I think they look tacky in this color, the atomic silver. On the back, beautiful exhaust tips down here. There you go, see the all-wheel drive RC350 F-Sport. You guys get a little volume. I have no one in there to hit the throttle, so you guys get to hear what it sounds like, but I'm sure you guys can just YouTube RC350 exhaust note and you'll get it. But that's about it, guys, on the styling on the outside. Looking under the hood, guys, this is a 3.5 liter 311 horsepower V6. You can hear it chirping away. There's not a whole lot to see in here. It is a little bit dirty, and I'm sure Detail is going to clean this all up before we sell this car. Looking in the trunk here, it's actually bigger than I thought it would be, to be honest, and the rear seats fold down, which is huge. I can't state that enough. In a car this small, if your rear seats don't fold down, it's going to be tough. But you can actually travel with this car with two people because your seats are going to fold down. It's going to make that rear storage space a lot more usable. It's going to come with your net. Not quite sure what this is. It looks like a license plate holder for maybe Canadian or European people. And then we have our all-weather mats that are just hanging out in here. Of course, it comes with your standard first aid kit, but that's about it. We're going to close her down. So the first thing I noticed when I got in this car is how low you actually sit. It makes sense. It's a little coupe. But it's a nice change. It's going to help you feel a little bit more planted to the road and more secure. On the inside, you have this nice, I believe this is the Matador red trim, or it could be the Rioja trim. I'll look it up. I'll let you guys know. Black stitching, then the red stitching on the black, and you have this fake carbon fiber-ish looking thing. And I think if you look closely, it's a bunch of L's. Looks pretty good. Window controls here is mirror controls. 3 memory seats. That's cool. No memory seats on the other side. Let's go to the steering wheel. Paddle shifters naturally. It would be nice if it came in a manual, but Lexus hasn't done a manual in a long time. F Sport steering wheel, so it's going to be all leather. And even, you know, quote me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of the RCs have anything but a leather steering wheel. Same thing with the NX. I haven't seen an NX with a wood trim steering wheel. Let's fire the car up, and then we'll be able to play with a couple things. So let's see what the welcoming. Now, something I noticed is that the seat didn't. I have to adjust the seat, which the controls are here on the side. Usually the seat will automatically kind of put itself in the right position, but maybe there's no memory settings. So looking here, so this is the really cool speedometer that's going to move around. If I press this menu button here, the physical gauge, it's just going to move around, and then you can play with different options here in the menu, which, you know, I'm not going to go into really other than that. That's about it. This does have navigation. Now, I don't know a lot about this car, this particular one. I'm surprised it has navigation because this screen is really small. I don't know how big the screen is, but it is really small compared to the 10-inch and the NX, as well as obviously the 12-inch and the LX and the RX and so interesting. I think this is also the illuminated clock, which I saw for the first time in the NX, or maybe I noticed for the first time in the NX. Pretty simple. Now, if you saw my initial RC 300 review, I did talk about this. It looks a little cheap for Lexus, but it is extremely functional. This I like to control the temperature. All the buttons are very easy to know what they are just by the small pictures they put on there. It does have heated and ventilated seats. A nice shifter here with the stitching. Driving modes here, and we'll be in Sport Plus pretty much the entire time. Here's the old school touchpad. This will be replaced by a bigger one. Some people love it. Actually, I haven't met anyone who really likes it. But let's just go back to navigation. I actually like it better than the mouse, but that's a personal preference. Other people like the mouse better. More of the faux carbon fiber trim here. Plastic dash, but you do have leather up here over the speedometer and center cluster. This steering wheel will probably be updated fairly soon and get rid of the Toyota looking cruise control. But these seats look good. Now, this car has not been cleaned. We just got it in fairly recently. Hasn't been into detail yet, but it looks pretty good. And I'm not going to get in the back, guys. Just know that if you're like close to 6 feet tall, the front seats are going to have to be slid pretty far forward. Otherwise, you're just stuck. There's hardly any room back there. And it looks like you have your child seats connectors right there, which is super helpful because it lets you know that they're there. And other Lexus models, like some of them are really hard to find. Here's our sunroof. Let's open it up. It's actually pretty large for the size of the vehicle. And the controls for that is here, as well as the lights. You have your garage door openers here. And the rear view mirror, I actually like it. It's pretty big. We're going to open up the visor here. Bright light right above it. Excellent. And then you have your oh crap bars here to help you get in and out, or just to help you stay planted while the driver's going crazy in this car. Let's go ahead and get on our test drive. Oh, seat buckle is difficult to grab. I just like cramped my pectoral muscle trying to grab that. So seat belt is fairly difficult to grab. There are these little clips here. You guys can't see that, but there are the little clips there that are probably going to keep the seat belt in place. So like I mentioned earlier, this has the 3.5 liter V6 that you see in, just about most of the other Lexus vehicles. In this particular car, just like the GS F Sport, it's going to produce 311 horsepower. And that's why I'm just going to hold the camera here, because I don't have a window mount for my phone yet. It's probably something I need to do. That was just sitting on the door. So I'm just going to have to hold you guys with me, which is not ideal because I'd like to have two hands on the steering wheel. Okay, that was a good little takeoff. I had to pull out in front of this super speedy Toyota Yaris. As you guys want to see how fast it is? Pretty amazing. Gosh, what is it? Toyota Friday? Oh, there's a Tundra crossing the road too. And then, okay, there's just Lexus and Toyotas everywhere here in Omaha. There's a Venza. But, and then there's an ES 300. Back on track here. This car is really comfortable. The seats are actually the firmest Lexus seats I've felt yet. And that's a good thing, because you want to, you know, as you're going to be hugging some turns in this car, most of you probably won't. This isn't like a track-oriented car by any means, but it is, you know, marketed as a sportier car of theirs. But I'm really comfortable. I'm going to turn the ventilated seats off because according to the thermometer, it's 62. So you can see the thermometer right there. Here we go, guys. I'm going to let this Tacoma get a little bit of room here. Okay, let's hit a little bit of gas. Okay, so this is one of the loudest Lexus vehicles I've been in, and I'm sure that's going to change if I put it out of Sport Plus mode. And this does have the blind spot monitors. This is good because that Nissan Sentra was riding my butt. It does have the blind spot monitors, which are really, really good if you can do especially a lot of freeway riding. So here's the huge downfall when you have a navigation screen of this size. Lexus, when you get on a freeway or an interstate, half the screen is taken up by exits and what's on those exits. That is a great idea if your screen is 10 to 12 inches, but on this my guess is it's an 8-inch screen. On this really small 8-inch screen, it makes the navigation not unusable, just not ideal. Like, I can see what's going on the navigation screen, but man, it's almost completely covered up by like all the other buttons on there that are not touchscreen. You know, I feel like those buttons should go away the second you touch the mouse pad, but they're always there. They're always an option. Well, not an option, but always the visual indicator that they're there. And there's no way, I don't think there's any way for me to turn off that exit page. Okay guys, I figured it out. So with this tiny display, you can just put it in map only mode. You can see that it's it can do a bunch of things. So you can do a turn by turn, you can do freeway exit list, which it seems to really like. So we're gonna do map only, and there we go. But I'm off the exit, or I'm off the highway anyway, so it would have defaulted back to the map only mode. But there is a way you can do that, so just felt like I would share. So I got some free space ahead of me. Let's dig into the throttle. Downshifts are quick and accelerates really well. It's still hanging on to the gear, so that's what the Sport Plus mode is going to do. I'm just going to I pushed it, we're back in normal mode. I don't like how it hangs onto those gears. Maybe if I took this car to a track, which it would suck pretty bad on a track, probably because the suspension's too soft. Because this does not, I don't believe this one, maybe it does in the first model. It probably does have an adjustable suspension, but I'm gonna have to look and confirm for you guys. Not adjustable, an adaptive suspension, where when you change the driving mode, the suspension damping is gonna get a little bit stronger, so it's not gonna, the suspension won't wash out in the curves as much. But let's try to accelerate again and just see what it feels like. Okay, so I much prefer how it behaves in the normal mode. I didn't notice there's zero perceptible difference between the downshifting when I got into the pedal between normal and Sport Plus mode. What was a big difference is how quickly it shifted out of that gear. So in Sport Plus, it held on to that gear. I'll do it again so you guys get an idea of it holding on to that gear. So I'm gonna get off the throttle and it's holding on to that gear, which would be good for track, but 99% of the time, you're not gonna need that. So what's not great about this car? Well, if I was buying a car like this, I would want it to have a little bit more power. 311 horsepower, awesome, it's okay, whatever. But if they put, you know, the V6, the turbocharged, twin turbo I should say, V6 from the LS 500 in here, which makes 414 horsepower, that's awesome. Now, if you want more power, you can get the RCF with 471 horsepower. But I feel like it's such a huge jump. You jump from 300-ish horsepower to almost 500 horsepower, and there's nothing in between. I feel like Lexus is missing out here, and possibly missing out on potential buyers who want a little bit more pep in their vehicle. Is 311 horsepower enough for everyone? Yes. Okay. In terms of, is it, you can speed and break the speed limit with 150 horsepower. So double that, you're going to be, you know, just fine on, you know, the performance. But some people are looking for ridiculousness. They want to be able to break the wheels loose in the all-wheel drive. Okay, and you can't do that with this engine. Another thing I wish they would do is bring back a manual transmission. That's never going to happen, by the way. Lexus is never going to bring back a manual transmission, barring some miracle. Like, it's never going to happen. But like, that would make this car way more engaging. But the average Lexus buyer is not looking for engagement. They're looking for isolation from the noises and the things in the road. Okay, so they get into the Lexus to get away from the world, and not to be more in tune with the fine dealings of their car. Okay, they just want to sit in luxury. But for us more car enthusiast guys, we would love to see a manual transmission, especially in the RCF. Like, you can't get a manual transmission in any F model. So it's kind of a disappointment, but they wouldn't sell that many. They don't sell that many to begin with. But I'm just rambling here. So I have to pick out some faults with this car. Not enough horsepower and not enough driver engagement with a lack of a manual transmission. But it does have paddle shifters, and that's better than nothing. Something else I want to mention, this car is very quiet. Just like standard Lexus quality. It's super, super quiet. Except for when you get into it on the throttle. The throttle's gonna, you know, increase the sound a little bit in the car, obviously, and they've tuned that car to make sure it makes lots of noise. So here's a braking test. I'm going about 53. I'm gonna get on the brakes. Okay, this stops better than just about any Lexus I've driven, and that makes sense. It's probably the lightest Lexus I've ever driven. The brakes didn't feel quite as spaceship-like as the LS 500, not quite as smooth. There was a little bit of vibration in the pedal that you feel from the road, where in the LS, man, that thing just feels like, it feels like the brake pedal's not even connected to the car. But it still inspires a ton of confidence. This brake pedal feels a little bit more raw. There is a little bit of vibration in it, but it's extremely linear, and there's a lot of good feedback here. gonna get on the Twisties. Let's see how she does. Okay, yeah. This feels like a small little sports car. Taking these turns is a lot easier in this car than it is. Grip, throttle. Okay, yeah. This car's pretty fun to drive, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of grip. You know, I wasn't pushing the car that hard. It's only 60 degrees outside. And there's no reason to push a car that hard that I don't own, even if I did own. Anyways, it's very, very confident in the turns. We're gonna hit this little gravel patch here with a little bit of speed and, okay, a little bit of slide, which you would expect. There's not much you can do about that, but it controlled itself immediately after getting off that gravel patch. And then we're gonna park at our favorite lake. The geese are loving it today, guys. The geese are loving it. You know, there's actually a decent amount of cars out here. I don't see that many people, but the geese are loving it. They are not in the water. They're probably like, screw this 60-degree weather in the middle of June. And they're just hanging out there, just hanging out. But that sums it up for the beautiful RC 350 all-wheel drive F-Sport trim. It's an awesome car. If you want one of the best looking cars on the road, guys, look into this car. It's amazingly beautiful. It's not going to be the quickest car, but that's fine because most people don't buy a Lexus for the quickness. They buy it for the luxury and the durability and the design of the cars. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments down below. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys later.